Hey everyone, welcome to a deep dive, specifically for those of you, figuring out your 20's.
Yeah.
It can feel, I think we can all relate to this, like kind of a whirlwind, like all this potential, but then also all this pressure.
Yeah, for sure.
So today we're diving into a guide about building habits, those habits for success, but specifically for your 20's.
What I find so interesting about this guide in particular is it kind of goes beyond, just like listing off good habits to have.
Mm-hmm.
It really talks about like why these habits, why they matter.
Yeah.
Not just for, achieving stuff externally, but also your like inner growth and well-being.
Oh, I love that. So it's like not just checking stuff off a list, it's like transforming your life kind of from the inside out.
Totally.
Where do we even begin?
Well, the guide starts out strong with this powerful analogy, comparing habits to seeds.
Oh,
So
okay.
just like, like a tiny little seed can grow into this like mighty oak tree.
Right.
A small habit, if you keep doing it, if you nurture it, it can also grow into something amazing.
Right, right.
So it's like those small things you do every day, they really shape your future,
Yeah.
which is kind of wild to think about.
It is. I've heard that analogy before, but I like how this guide like breaks it down.
Yeah.
It's not just about like, okay, I planted the seed, like hope for the best.
Right.
You need the right like soil, sunlight,
You got to take care of it.
You gotta, yeah, create the right environment. So for habits, I guess that's like our mindset, right? Like setting ourselves up to actually succeed.
Totally. And that's where this first habit comes in. Um, it's a popular one, but for good reason.
Okay.
Waking up early.
Oh, man.
Now, before you like roll your eyes and hit the snooze button,
Oh, it's tough.
it's not about like cramming more into your day. It's about those like quiet hours before like everything gets going.
So true, because like I swear so many, successful people, they talk about that time, that quiet time
Yeah.
to like think clearly, even just to like set your intentions for the day.
Absolutely.
You can get a head start. Actually, the guide mentions this CEO, I think it's a woman who wakes up at 5 a.m. every day,
Wow.
but not to like answer emails, but to meditate and journal.
Oh, wow.
And she says, that's it. That's the key. That's like her secret weapon.
Makes you wonder, right?
It does.
Like what could you do with that extra focused time?
Right.
Because it's not really about having more time. It's about it being different time.
Totally.
And the cool thing is like you don't have to become like a morning person overnight.
Thank goodness.
The guide says just start small, like even 15 minutes earlier than usual, and actually use that time intentionally.
Okay, and that I can get behind. It's like building that consistency muscle, right? Because let's face it, we've all started something super gung-ho and then a
Yeah.
couple weeks later.
Gone.
Exactly.
It's true. And like the guide talks about that, like it doesn't pretend it's easy. It actually like gets into the science of habits.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
It explains that consistency is key, right? Because every time you do something, it strengthens these pathways in your brain.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's making the habit, more automatic over time.
So it's like carving out a path in your brain.
Exactly.
And the more you walk that path,
the more ingrained it gets.
yeah, exactly.
And the easier it becomes. Think of it like building a muscle, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't go to the gym like one time
Right.
and expect to be like totally ripped, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's the repeated effort over time that like makes you stronger.
That's a great analogy. Okay, so how do we actually get better at this?
And what?
Like, how do we cultivate more consistency in our lives? Especially when, let's be real, motivation, it comes and goes.
Well, the guide really stresses setting, realistic goals.
Okay.
And not just like in the traditional sense, like I want to achieve this thing, whatever.
Oh, okay. What do you mean?
So it's like shifting your focus from like the outcome to the actual process.
Mhm.
So like instead of being like, I'm going to write a whole novel.
Right, which is terrifying.
Yeah. It's like, whoa, hold on. How about I'm going to write for 30 minutes every morning?
Oh, I see. Okay, so it's more about just showing up consistently rather than this like big scary outcome.
Exactly. And the guide, it suggests like breaking down those big goals, the scary ones, into smaller chunks.
Yeah, yeah.
It makes it feel less like overwhelming,
Totally.
And then you can like celebrate those small wins along the way.
That's so important. I think we forget to do that. Celebrate the small wins.
Yeah, it's huge.
That's-
And it reinforces those, positive behaviors.
It's true. Okay, so we've talked about waking up early. We've talked about building consistency. What's the next, like, super habit?
Okay, so this one's all about embracing that, always be learning, always be growing mindset.
Lifelong learning. It's so true, especially, like, in your 20s. You're just, like, constantly learning, growing, changing.
100%. And
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be like formal education.
Right, right, totally.
It's bigger than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how does this guide recommend we approach lifelong learning then?
It suggests like really looking at the world with this sense of curiosity, you know? Always be looking for new knowledge, new experiences.
Yeah, I love
And
that.
it's not just books and courses, although those are great.
Totally.
It's like really engaging with the world around you,
Yeah, okay.
talking to people who like challenge your thinking.
Right, right.
Traveling to new places,
Mm.
trying things that maybe scare you a little bit.
Okay, so it's like we were talking about before. It's that seed analogy. You got to create the conditions for growth,
Yeah.
expose yourself to new stuff.
Yes. And there's this really cool concept the guide talks about. It's called the adjacent possible.
Okay. The adjacent possible. I've never heard of that.
Right. So it basically means like everything you learn, every new thing, it opens up all these other possibilities.
Oh, okay.
Things you
Yes.
couldn't have even imagined before.
I love that.
It's like you open one door and then it leads to this whole hallway of other doors.
Okay. I like that. I'm visual, so that really helps.
So each door you open, that's like a new potential for growth, for discovery.
It makes lifelong learning feel less like, I don't know, a chore and more like an adventure, kind of.
Yes.
Okay. But I'm not gonna lie, it can get kind of overwhelming.
Totally.
Just like with so much information out there, sometimes I feel like I'm not doing enough, like comparison traps.
100%.
Yeah.
And the guide like gets that. It talks about how to deal with that.
Oh, good.
It stresses being really intentional with like what you consume.
Okay. Yeah, what you pay attention to.
Exactly. And how you define success for yourself.
Yes. Not just letting like society tell you what success is.
Right. What does the guide say though? Like what should we be doing?
Well, it suggests like figuring out your core values.
Sure.
What are like the most important principles to you?
Yeah.
And then use those as your guide, basically.
Oh, that's good.
Like a filter. Love that.
So like what you learn, who you spend time with, how you spend your energy, it should all kind of like align with those values.
So it's not just chasing like whatever's trendy.
Right, exactly. Or like
Uh.
comparing yourself to like everyone else's highlight reel.
Totally. It's about building a life that you want, on your own terms.
100%. Okay, I like that a lot.
And this actually, it connects really well with the next habit, which is practicing gratitude.
Okay, I'm all for gratitude. Sometimes I forget to do it, but when I do it, I feel great.
Oh, me too. It's not, just some like fluffy feel-good thing. Gratitude is powerful.
In what way?
It shifts your focus. You go from like what you don't have to what you do have.
Right, okay.
Which is super grounding, especially when you're like feeling down in yourself.
Yeah, for sure. So what does the guide say about how to actually get better at this gratitude thing? Is it just a gratitude journal?
Journaling helps, definitely. But the guide, like, takes it a step further.
Oh, okay, how so? It has all these exercises. One is, like, think about a person you're grateful for and then write them, like a real letter.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a lot more powerful.
Right, to actually, like, express it to someone.
Totally. I love that idea. Okay.
And it doesn't have to be someone, you're super close to.
Oh, okay.
The guide talks about, like, even expressing gratitude for people you don't know,
Oh, interesting.
but who, like,
Yeah.
make your life easier.
Okay, yeah.
The bus driver, the barista, whoever. It's about noticing.
Totally. All those people we take for granted.
Right. And the guide says, like, gratitude, it's not about ignoring the bad stuff.
Right. Right.
It's about choosing to focus on what's good.
Even when things are hard.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah. I like that a lot.
And get this, science backs this up.
Oh, tell me more. Tell me more.
They found that practicing gratitude can actually, like, make you happier. You sleep better, less stress, and your immune system even gets stronger.
Wow. Okay, so it's like not just in my head. It's a real thing.
Oh, yeah. And that brings us to another super habit for building that strong foundation, especially in your 20s.
Okay, lay it on me.
Mastering your finances.
Oof. Oh, yes.
That's a big one.
It is a big one, and like this guide gets that. It talks about, all the common money traps people fall into.
Oh, tell me about it. Like, what kind of traps?
Student loan debt.
Ah, yes.
Living paycheck to paycheck, feeling like clueless about investing.
It can feel like a lot.
For sure. Especially when you're just starting out, you know?
Right, like no one really teaches you this stuff.
Right. So the guy, like, how do you even approach this?
Yeah, give us the goods.
Well, it's more than just, like, budgeting and saving.
Oh, okay, so what else?
It wants you to develop a whole healthy mindset around money.
Okay, how do we do that?
So instead of seeing money as, like, a source of stress, you know, or like there's never enough.
Oh, I do that.
Yeah, a lot of us do. See it as a tool instead.
Okay.
Something you can use to, like, actually create the life you want. Okay, yeah, I like that a lot. So it's about changing your perspective. Money's not the end goal. It's, like, a means to an end.
Exactly. And the guy gives you tips, like setting financial goals that, like, actually matter to you, not just, like, arbitrary numbers.
Right.
Track your spending.
The part's hard.
I know, but it's how you become aware of your habits
True, true.
and seek out, like, actual financial education so you can make good choices.
Totally, because no one's going to do it for us. Right?
Exactly. Be your own advocate.
Okay, I love it. So it's like taking control, not letting money control you.
Yes. And here's a big takeaway. It's not about, like, depriving yourself,
Oh, good.
living like a monk.
Okay, good, because I like to have fun.
It's about making choices that, match your values.
Okay.
So you can spend your money on things you actually enjoy.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. It's that balance again.
Yes. Enjoying now and planning for later.
Right, exactly.
And there's this great quote in the guide that says, financial freedom is not about having a lot of money. It's about having enough money to make the choices that matter most to you.
Ooh, I like that a lot. I might write that down. It's about, like, aligning your habits with your life goals, your values.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. We talked about waking up early. We talked about consistency, lifelong learning, gratitude, and our finances.
We're on a roll.
Yeah.
And you know what? There's one more super habit that we're going to dive into.
Okay, hit me.
Building those real connections.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And giving back to something bigger than yourself.
I like it. And we'll dive into that when we come back.
And we're back, diving into these super habits for your 20s. And like you teased, we're talking about connection, giving back.
Yeah, it's interesting. We always think about success, like what you achieve, your own goals,
Well,
right?
exactly.
But this guy, it's saying, like, real fulfillment, that comes from connecting with something bigger. That makes a lot of sense, especially, like, these days. Everything's so, I don't know, me-focused.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
So how do we actually do that? How do we cultivate these meaningful connections?
Well, it starts with realizing, like, we're all connected.
Okay.
The guide uses this metaphor. It's like a tapestry,
Oh, okay.
Every thread matters, even the tiny ones.
I love that. So, like, each of us, we're a thread.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we all contribute to this bigger picture.
I love that visual. So how do we find our place in that tapestry, though? Like, what's our unique contribution?
That's where it gets really personal. You got to figure out what lights you up,
Okay.
what are your passions, your values, what makes you feel like truly alive.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
And then from there, think about, like, what kind of mark do I want to make?
I love that. Okay, so it's about finding your purpose and then, like, actually living it out.
100%.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be this big, huge thing.
Right.
Even small acts of kindness, they matter.
Totally, yeah. They create a ripple effect.
Exactly.
Okay, so we need to remember that. Like, we all have something to offer, even if it feels small to us.
Totally. Our time, our talents, it all matters.
So how do we, like, bring more of that giving back into our lives then?
The guide has some ideas. One is, like, find a cause you actually care about
Okay.
and commit to volunteering, even just a little bit.
I could do that. Yeah. What else?
Or, like, sprinkle little acts of kindness throughout your day.
Oh, I like that.
Just be more aware. Someone needs help, you offer it. Compliment a stranger. Things like that.
It's those little things. I feel like we forget about that.
It's easy to get caught up, but it makes a difference.
It really does. It's about, like, choosing to be kind,
Mm.
to be helpful.
Yes. And the best part is giving back. It doesn't just help others. It feels good.
Oh, yeah, totally.
There are studies they found that people who help out, they're happier, less stressed. They find more meaning.
It's that whole the more you give, the more you get kind of thing.
Exactly. Okay, I've got one final thought from this guide that really stuck with me.
Okay, let's hear it.
It's about seeing your life as this, like, journey of service.
Oh, okay.
So every experience, every interaction, you're learning, growing, contributing to something bigger.
I love that. Okay, so it's like finding the meaning in everyday moments, even when things are tough.
Exactly. It's a beautiful way to look at it.
It is. Well, on that note, that wraps up our deep dive into these super habits for your 20s. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember, whether it's waking up early, embracing consistency, being a lifelong learner, practicing gratitude, mastering your finances, or building connections, these are just tools.
Totally.
Choose what works for you, experiment, and most importantly, be kind to yourselves along the way.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and we'll catch you on the flip.